A guy's mother showed up at the house he inherited from his dead father, walked in without being invited, let her pregnant daughter give herself a tour, and then snapped her fingers and told him he had 2 weeks to pack his bags and hand over the deed, in his own house, that she has no legal claim to. She even called herself God. I wish I was exaggerating. She then slapped him, threatened to lie to the police, ran a smear campaign on social media, and, when none of that worked, came back with a bucket of rocks and smashed his windows. She forgot about the cameras. This is a one-story video from the subreddit entitled People with one update. Full story, start to finish, timestamps are below. This post is by a user we'll call Garrett. Posted to r/entitled people. My mother demanded I hand over the house my father left me because my younger sister is pregnant and needs it more. When I refused, she slapped me, threatened to lie to the police, and launched a smear campaign. She forgot my girlfriend was recording everything. My mother showed up at my house uninvited, told me I had 2 weeks to transfer the deed to her because my pregnant sister needs it more, slapped me when I tried to call the police, and then threatened to tell people I'd done something to my sister if I didn't comply. My girlfriend recorded the whole thing. Here's the full story. I'm Garrett, 30, just outside Atlanta. I run a freight logistics company that my father built from the ground up and taught me the business since I was 16. I've been working here 14 years and became a partner 3 years before he passed. It's a good company, solid reputation. My dad was a practical guy, worked hard, saved harder, didn't believe in showing off. My sister Paige is 27. She's been the golden child to our mother, but never to our dad, for as long as I can remember. My parents divorced when I was 15 because my mother cheated with someone she reconnected with on social media. Classic midlife crisis stuff. She'd always been controlling and manipulative, the kind of person who believed she had total authority over everyone in her house. She'd snap her fingers and order me around like a dog, literally snap, like summoning a waiter. Get me water, snap. Take out the trash, snap. I don't care what you want, snap. It was demeaning, and Paige always backed her up, every time. No surprise I went to live with my dad full-time after the split. Paige stayed with Mom. The two of them were like copies of each other. Same attitude, same entitlement, same way of treating people like they existed to serve them. Both pretty much stopped speaking with my father unless it was about money, which was often. I'm more like my dad. Quiet, business-minded, keep your head down and handle your responsibilities. He was a freight logistics guy, started his own company in his 30s, and built it from nothing into something real. Started teaching me the business when I was 16, how to manage accounts, deal with clients, handle payroll, run the ugly side of ownership that nobody tells you about. By the time I was 28, I was running half the operation, and he made me a partner. 14 years I'd been at that company. It was our thing. The one good thing that came out of a messy family. Just me and Dad building something together. He paid alimony and child support exactly as long as the court required and not a day longer. Put $30,000 toward Paige's college fund, too. The man did right by everyone, even when they didn't do right by him. 10 years after the divorce, the judge's ruling expired, and he wasn't legally required to send Mom anything. She never forgave him for that. The last time she spoke to him, she screamed that he owed her more money and threatened to sue. He just laughed. She's not broke, though. Works the same job she's had for nearly 30 years. Fully owns the old family home. Rents out 2 rooms on Airbnb regularly. She's not hurting for cash. She just wants more. Then about 10 months ago, my dad died. Heavy smoker most of his life. Lungs were shot. Caught pneumonia, and his body couldn't fight it off. He was 61, way too young. The kind of death that makes you angry because you saw it coming, but couldn't stop it. We had a small service. My mother and Paige showed up. First time I'd seen either of them in years. Paige seemed genuinely sad. My mother looked like she was at a dentist appointment she didn't want to be at. Checked her phone 3 times during the ceremony. I wasn't surprised, but it still hit me somewhere. When the will was read, I got nearly everything. The house, the business, most of the savings. My dad even recorded a video to go with the will. Joked that if the smoking didn't get him, something else would, so he figured he'd plan ahead. Made me laugh and cry at the same time. That was Dad. practical to the very end. Paige got a car, a 2016 Nissan, and $10,000 in cash. My mother got $1,000 and a few items she'd been claiming were hers since the divorce. That was it. And honestly, that was generous considering how she'd treated him. My girlfriend Tessa moved in with me at the house. It's a good house. My dad kept it simple. No cameras, barely any tech. He liked his coffee and a good book and his quiet mornings. I kept everything the way he had it for a while. It felt right. The arrival. Paige went from 2 years of community college to basically living off her boyfriend and only working part-time selling stuff online. Some kind of reselling thing. She'd buy clearance items and flip them on marketplace apps. Made a little money, but nothing close to a real income. She'd been doing this for years. Meanwhile, her boyfriend was working a real job and covering most of the bills. During that time, she'd gotten pregnant, but suffered a traumatic miscarriage. I wasn't aware of any of this because we were practically no contact, and nobody in the family thought to tell me. Found out after the funeral. Felt bad about it. I'm not heartless, but also, I wasn't part of her life at that point, and that was a two-way street. When lockdowns hit, her boyfriend's job started cutting hours. Money got tight fast. He kept telling Paige she needed to find better work since he was trying to pick up a second job himself. Then she got pregnant again. She claims they were careful, but calls it her miracle baby. One evening, I got an unexpected knock at my door. No text, no call, no warning. I opened it, and there were my mother and Paige. They walked right in without asking, just pushed past me into the living room like they had a key and a lease. Paige immediately started wandering through the house, opening doors, looking in rooms, peeking into closets, giggling like she was on a house tour at an open home event. My mother planted herself on my couch, in my house, snapped her fingers, and demanded a cold bottled water. Just like that, snap, water. Tessa got the water just to keep things calm while I tried to figure out what was happening. I asked why they'd come by unannounced. From down the hallway, I heard Paige yell, "Mommy, it's perfect." Yeah, she still calls her mommy, at 27 years old. My mother finally spoke up. "I think it's time you did your brotherly duty." I just stared at her. My what? Now that your father has passed, this house should have gone to me since I was his only spouse. But you can still fix this. You make plenty of money and could buy a new house. Your sister needs this one so much more. She's the one with a baby on the way. But if you're so determined to stay, you could just keep to one room and cover all the bills until you decide to move out. One room, in my own house, covering all the bills, while my pregnant sister takes over the rest of it. And my mother acts like she's doing me a favor by allowing me to stay in a corner of my own property. Tessa and I looked at each other. We both read enough of these stories online to know exactly where this was heading if I let it play out. So I guess you could say we were mentally prepared. I took a breath. That's not happening. You don't get to order me around, especially not in my own house. Yeah, I make good money, but like Dad, I'm going to save it for when I actually need it. Not that you'd understand that. My mother started snapping her fingers at me, that same move she'd been doing since I was a kid, snap, 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 and said, "Stop. I am your mother, and you will do as I say, because I brought you into this world. I'm the only one in charge here. As far as you're concerned, I am God. That means when I say jump, you say how high." She stood up from the couch. "This house is rightfully mine, and your sister will live here. Consider this your formal eviction. But since I'm gracious, I'll give you 2 weeks to pack your bags and transfer the deed to me." In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, this can't actually be real. But she was dead serious, so I grabbed my phone and started dialing. My mother jumped up. "What are you doing?" "I'm doing what I should have done the second you walked in. I'm calling the police to get you out of my house." She lunged at me and knocked the phone out of my hand, tried to stomp on it, but I snatched it up before she could. That's when she slapped me across the face, hard. So I returned it, backhanded, knocked her back onto the couch. She sat there holding her face in shock and screamed, "How dare you!" I went back to dialing, told her if she didn't leave, I'd have the police remove her by force. Paige came running in between us with her arms out like a referee. "Just do the right thing for once in your life. Be a good big brother," I snapped. 16 years of being second place to this person came out in about 30 seconds. Oh, really? I'm the bad sibling? Last I checked, I was the one who's been working for a living since I was a teenager. I did every chore in that house while you sat on your butt playing games or talking with your friends all day. You used to steal my hard-earned money out of my room just to go shopping after you blew through your allowance in 3 days. You've never worked a real job in your life. You're 27 years old and you still call your mother mommy. You're a mooch and a thief, and I don't owe you a damn thing. Now both of you get out before I finish dialing this last number. Paige started crying, full meltdown. Mommy, make him stop. My mother hugged her and kissed her cheeks while glaring at me. Then she tried her last card. You know, if you call the police, I can tell them you hit me first. And who knows, maybe I'll say you did something worse to a poor pregnant girl. I don't think that'd be good for you. I held up my hand. My girlfriend has had her phone out recording this entire time. We have you assaulting me first. We have you threatening to lie to police. I don't think that'd be great for your job or your little Airbnb side business. She deflated instantly, like watching a balloon lose air. All that authority and confidence just gone. She started dragging Paige toward the door. But Paige broke free of her grip, walked to my front porch, sat down on the steps, and started having a full tantrum. I mean a real one. Legs out, arms wrapped around the handrail, crying and repeating, "You promised me," over and over again, like a toddler who got told no at a toy store. She latched onto that railing and would not let go. I stood in the doorway and told them both to never come back. My mother flipped me off while trying to physically peel Paige off the porch. It took a few minutes of pulling and coaxing and bargaining before she finally got Paige to her feet and walking toward the car. The whole time, my mother was calling me every name she could think of, said I was a cruel, heartless bastard, said I'd burn for this, said I'd die alone. I called back from the doorway, "There's a special place for liars and narcissists who try to manipulate their own children to get what they want." Held up my phone, still recording. "Clock's ticking, Mom. Off my property." She gave me one last snooty look, stuffed Paige into the car, and drove off. I thought that was the end of it. But my mother has never let anything go in her entire life. The smear campaign. Letting things go was never something my mother was capable of. A few days later, I started getting messages from people I know and some relatives I hadn't heard from in ages. A lot of them were furious with me. Others just had questions about what was going on. I tried checking Facebook, but my mother and Paige had blocked me on everything. Tessa could still see their profiles, though. They'd kept them public. We screenshotted everything and printed some of it out. Both of their accounts had posts calling me a greedy, heartless thief who stole the house that was supposed to be Paige's inheritance by paying off the lawyer who handled Dad's will. Complete and total lie. They both knew it. My father's will was clear as day, and my mother was present when it was read. She knew exactly what was in it before Dad even passed because he'd told her years ago. The posts were getting traction, too. Comments pouring in. Her side of the family eating it up. Shame on Garrett. How could you do this to your pregnant sister? Your father would be disgusted. Yeah, my father would be disgusted, all right, just not at me. I called my lawyer, also my father's lawyer and a trusted family friend, and gave him copies of everything. The screenshots, the video Tessa recorded, the works. He wanted to just write a cease and desist, but I told him I wanted to go further. He drafted a formal letter and sent it via express mail. Signature required, so I'd know for a fact they received it. My mother called me in an absolute fury the same day it arrived. Before she could start yelling, I laid it out. If she and Paige didn't retract every single lying post and tell the truth publicly, I would send the video, the screenshots, and every piece of documentation I had to the entire family, her boss, and upload the video online for the whole world to see. And then I'd sue on top of it. She called me unreasonable, said she was just doing what any mother would do, went into a full-blown lecture about how Paige still needs my house more than me. I told her I didn't care what she thought, retract everything and tell the truth, or I end her career and her Airbnb business in the same week. Fine, you win. Have a horrible life and keep the house. Click. That very evening, every lying post vanished. My mother posted a half-hearted apology, said she jumped the gun because she believed Paige needed the house more since she was pregnant, but acknowledged it was rightfully mine according to the will, and she'd known that before Dad even passed, so she had no right to claim it. Paige also apologized, but basically parroted everything Mom said while blaming her behavior on pregnancy hormones and going along with Mom's ideas. The replies poured in. Most people were furious at them. I got a wave of apologies and my bads from relatives who'd believed the original posts, but all it really showed me was who was on her side to begin with. They'd bought the lie instantly, without asking me a single question. Her side of the family, all of them. Dad's side never believed a word of it. Paige and her boyfriend ended up moving into Mom's basement to save money, while Mom kept her Airbnb rooms running upstairs. Paige immediately started complaining on social media about living in a basement. I'm pretty sure she and Mom were fighting constantly because all Paige posted was complaints and Mom barely posted anything anymore. The previous stunt had cost her enough credibility that she'd learned to keep her mouth shut online. For now. Edit. People asking if the slap was justified. She hit me first, in my own house. After trying to destroy my phone and demanding I hand over my property, I reacted. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not apologizing either. Edit 2. Yes, Tessa is a genius for recording. She says she had a feeling the second they walked in uninvited. Instincts like that are why I'm marrying her. She called herself God in someone else's house that she has no legal claim to, then slapped him and threatened to lie to the police about what happened. And the whole time, Tessa's in the corner just recording, silently, like a nature documentary. Here we observe the narcissist in her natural habitat, attempting to seize territory through volume and finger snapping. She does not yet realize she is being filmed. Incredible. But it's not over. There's a whole second act involving a DNA test, a racist meltdown, a bucket of rocks, and security cameras she didn't know about. Let's keep going. Update. Posted several weeks later. Update. My mother tried to destroy my sister's relationship, got caught, then smashed my windows with rocks. She forgot about the cameras. After the house incident, I installed cameras everywhere, inside and outside. My dad was old school, didn't care for cameras or even TV much. He liked his coffee and a good book. But now I owned the place, and cameras were a needed upgrade. Tessa and I didn't tell anyone outside our close friends, and everyone who knew kept quiet. A couple weeks went by without hearing from Mom or Paige. Then I got a frantic call from Paige, the DNA test. Paige's boyfriend, I'll call him Marco, was questioning whether he was the father. He was threatening to leave without a paternity test. Paige swore she'd been faithful. I'll be honest, part of me wondered if she was lying because our mother's own affair made our father question our paternity back in the day. Patterns repeat. I suggested they just do a DNA test. Paige said they couldn't afford it. I offered to pay on one condition. She doesn't come to me asking for money or favors constantly after this. She agreed fast. I arranged the test and paid extra for rush results. Still took a few days. In the meantime, I finally met Marco in person. I hadn't before. We'd been no contact for years, and Paige didn't exactly invite me to holiday dinners. I took him out for food at a place near the warehouse, and the guy just opened up, spilled everything. He told me my mother had been whispering in his ear for weeks. Every time Paige left the room, Mom would lean in and drop comments. You know Paige is just like me, and I cheated on her father. Are you really sure that baby's yours? She's been on her phone a lot lately, don't you think? Planting doubt like seeds, every single day. Small stuff at first, then bigger. He said it started as little remarks and grew until he was lying awake at night running scenarios. He said he wasn't sure if Paige got pregnant on purpose to avoid having to work more than her little online selling gig. Sadly, I knew he was probably right about the last part. But Marco also said something that changed how I saw the whole situation. Paige was a completely different person when she wasn't around our mother. Warmer, calmer, more reasonable, less childish, more like an actual adult who could hold a conversation without deferring to somebody else. But since moving into Mom's basement, she'd been regressing hard, acting more like a kid every week, going back to calling Mom Mommy, throwing fits when she didn't get her way. It was like watching someone de-age in real time. After what I'd seen on my porch, the tantrum, the handrail, Mommy, make him stop, I believed every word of it. Our mother was like a signal jammer for personal growth. The closer you were to her, the worse you became. Something hit me during that conversation. If I was going to have a niece or nephew, I could not let them grow up in that house, under that influence, around that woman. Some brotherly instinct I didn't know I still had kicked in hard. I told Marco that if the DNA results came back positive, I'd give him a job at my company and train him from the ground up. He agreed immediately. He wanted out of that basement as badly as I wanted my future niece or nephew out of it. Mom intercepts. The results were supposed to arrive by mail. When the day came, Paige called me saying nothing showed up at the P.O. box. I asked who checked the mail. She said Mom did. That confirmed exactly what I suspected. My mother intercepted the DNA results. The whole play was obvious once you saw it. If Marco never got confirmation, the doubt would keep growing, and eventually he'd leave. Paige would be single, pregnant, stuck in Mom's basement, dependent, controllable, exactly where Mom wanted her. Without Marco, Paige would have nobody but our mother, and Mom would have her golden child back under her thumb for good. But I'd planned ahead. With Paige's consent, I'd had the clinic send a backup copy to my address. Same priority shipping, same day delivery. It arrived right on time. I called my mother. The conversation went more or less like this. Hey Mom, Paige says the DNA results didn't come in the mail today. Oh, well, it could be delayed. You know how mail is. Did you take it? I know it arrived today. I paid for priority shipping. How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I would never. Okay, then I guess I'll just bring over the backup copy that was sent to me. Long pause. Wait, backup copy? Yeah, I had one sent to my house as well, same day, since I paid for it. Paige gave me permission and everything. I'll just call her and then we'll all meet up and open it together. Wait, that's not... Click. I hung up, called Paige immediately, and picked her and Marco up from Mom's house within the hour. Drove to a diner down the road. We sat in a booth and opened the envelope together. Positive. Marco was the father. He was so relieved and happy that he proposed to Paige right there at the table. She said yes about 6 times. The waitress brought them free pie. Honestly, one of the best moments I've had in years. The explosion. The good feeling lasted about 45 minutes. When I drove them back to Mom's house, their stuff was on the front lawn. Bags, boxes, clothes, scattered across the grass. Men I didn't recognize were hauling the rest of it out the front door. Paige froze in the back seat. Mom came storming out, holding the DNA results she claimed never arrived. And then the mask came all the way off. Not halfway, not a crack, the whole thing. She went on a tirade that I'm not going to fully repeat because the language was that bad. Marco is mixed, half Colombian. My mother, though she'd never admitted in public, inherited her racism from my grandparents, and it runs deep. She'd apparently tolerated Marco as long as she thought the relationship was temporary, a phase, something Paige would get over. But a baby and a wedding? That was permanent. That was a mixed grandchild and a son-in-law she couldn't control, and she absolutely could not handle it. She used slurs I won't type here. She screamed at Paige to get rid of it or get out of her house forever. She pointed at Marco and said she never wanted him near her again. She said she would have tolerated the baby if Paige wasn't going to raise it there and he wasn't going to be around anymore. Then she turned on me, snapping her fingers. Same move, always the same move. Said everything was my fault for not doing as I was told. If you'd just given your sister the house like I asked, none of this would be happening. All my plans are ruined. Plans. She actually said plans, out loud, like she was running a project and we'd messed up the timeline. Paige was on her knees in the grass, holding her belly, crying, couldn't speak. My mother actually grabbed Paige by the hair and raised her hand to hit her. I stepped forward and gave her one look. One. She froze, lowered her arm slowly, screamed, "She's your problem now. I no longer have any children," and stormed back inside, slammed the door so hard the frame shook. I didn't know it at the time, but my dash cam was running the entire scene. It picked up every word she said and everything she did. All of it recorded, all of it time-stamped. That night I put Paige and Marco up in a hotel, paid for a week up front. She was still shaking when I dropped them off. Marco was holding it together, but barely. You could see it in his jaw, the way he kept clenching it. He wanted to go back to that house, and I told him the smartest thing he could do for his kid was stay right here and let me handle the rest. Within a week, a friend of my lawyer, a guy who works in real estate, helped arrange an apartment for them. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, decent neighborhood, close to the warehouse where Marco would be working. I covered the deposit and first month's rent, told them to pay me back whenever they could. Honestly, not sure I'll ever ask for it. And like I promised, I gave Marco the job. He started at the bottom rung. Warehouse work, inventory, learning the systems. But he's sharp, picks things up fast, asks the right questions, shows up 10 minutes early every single day. He'll move up. I can already see it. Paige started therapy, covered by the company insurance. And honestly, the change has been something else entirely. She stopped calling our mother Mommy, started talking about her the way I do. Clear-eyed, no illusions, no excuses. She came to me recently and said something I never thought I'd hear from her. She said she's working harder than she ever has in her life. She told me I was right, that she'd been a spoiled mooch for years, and she was ashamed of it. She said she's going to be a good mother and a good provider for her child. And the way she said it, I could tell she meant it. Not performing, not saying what she thought I wanted to hear, she meant it. Her therapist is doing real work, twice-a-month sessions. They're unpacking years of our mother's influence. The manipulation, the control, the way mom used Paige as an extension of herself instead of letting her become her own person. Paige told me she's starting to see patterns she never saw before, ways mom would pit us against each other, ways she'd use guilt and dependency to keep Paige close and me pushed away. The regret hit her hardest about Dad. She came to me in tears one night and said she'll never forgive herself for not apologizing to our father while he was alive, for letting mom poison that relationship, for spending years treating him like an ATM instead of a parent, for not being there. She said she thinks about it every day. I've understood for most of my life that Paige was a victim of our mother's narcissism, but the way she treated me growing up, the stealing, the lying, the constant backing of mom's behavior, made me resentful. I stopped trying to help her with anything years ago. I just wrote her off. But now that we're both adults and she's away from our mother for good, I can finally be the brother I should have been, and she can finally be the sister she never got the chance to be. Marco's been great too. Hard worker, shows up early, asks questions, speaks fluent Spanish, which has already helped with a few clients. He got his first small raise last month and high-fived me in the break room. I've never been high-fived by an employee before. Felt weird. Good weird. He and I grab lunch sometimes, and it feels like having a brother. I never had that before. The cameras pay off. About 2 weeks after the blow-up, my security cameras earned back every penny I spent on them. Broad daylight, middle of a Tuesday afternoon, nobody home. I was at the office, Tessa was at work. My mother's car pulled into the driveway. She got out carrying a metal bucket. The bucket was full of large rocks, and the rocks had slurs painted on them in red and black marker, aimed at Marco, at Paige, and at me. She smashed 4 of my front windows, one by one, picked up a rock, threw it, picked up another, threw it, methodical about it, like she'd been thinking about this for days and finally decided today was the day. Then she got back in her car and drove off. Didn't even look around to see if anyone was watching. The footage was crystal clear. Her face, her car, her license plate, the bucket, the rocks, the slurs, everything time-stamped down to the second. I had it in police hands that same evening. Pressed charges immediately. Filed for and received a restraining order. She's not allowed within 500 feet of me or my property. I also had the dash cam footage from the night she kicked Paige out. Every word of the racist tirade, the hair grab, the "I no longer have any children" line, all of it recorded. I shared it with the entire family, both sides. Paige backed it up with her own account posted publicly on social media. My mother's remaining image, whatever scraps were left after the house stunt, collapsed completely. Her side of the family went quiet. A few of them cut contact with her entirely. Dad's side had known what she was for years, but now there was no denying it, no spinning it, no "she's difficult but she means well." The footage was right there for everybody to see. She didn't lose her job. I didn't push it that far. She's not set to retire for another decade, and destroying someone's livelihood wasn't my goal. But some of her pettier relatives started submitting fake bad reviews for her Airbnb listings, and her business is drying up. Rooms that used to book every weekend are sitting empty now. She did that to herself. Every bit of it. She's alone in that house with empty guest rooms and a reputation that's not recovering anytime soon. Where things stand. I've got a cousin on mom's side, one of the few relatives who still visits her, who keeps me updated. Last she checked, mom's depressed. Barely leaves the house, stopped doing her hair and makeup. The Airbnb rooms are mostly empty. She looks like a shell of her former self. I don't feel guilty about any of it. Not one bit. She had a plan. A whole grand scheme. Get Paige into my house for free, push Marco out using doubt and racism, keep Paige dependent and controllable, run the Airbnb undisturbed, pull the strings on everybody forever. I wrecked every single part of that plan just by saying no and having the sense to document what came after. My mother was never good at planning. She had this grand idea that if Paige had a free house, she could dump Marco and survive on her part-time income with mom managing everything from a distance. She didn't factor in that her son might refuse. She didn't factor in that her daughter might grow up. She didn't factor in cameras. She didn't factor in a dash cam. And she definitely didn't factor in a girlfriend who starts recording the second something feels off. She's someone who can't seem to live without control over others. She used to know that about herself, but after years of no contact, she somehow forgot that I wasn't the scared kid she could snap her fingers at anymore. When she slapped me at my house, it was the first time she'd laid a hand on me since I was 14. Back then, I stood up to her, and she threw a tantrum because neither I nor my father would let her hit me anymore. Some people can't exist without somebody to boss around. Now, she has no one. My sister probably won't go back. Marco sure as hell won't. And me, she lost me when I was 15. She just didn't realize it until she showed up at my door all those years later and got shown the exit. My mother made her bed with dirty sheets. Now, she can lie in her own mess. Paige is due in about 2 months. She and Marco are in their apartment, both working, both building something real for the first time. She's in therapy twice a month, and for the first time in her life, she sounds like a person who's actually thinking for herself instead of repeating what mom told her to think. Oh, one thing that still sticks with me. When they were clearing Paige's stuff out of mom's basement, Paige found a box of old photos from when we were kids, before the divorce, before everything went bad. There's one of me and her at maybe 5 and 3, sitting on Dad's lap on the porch of the old house, all 3 of us smiling. Paige brought it to me last week, said she wanted me to have it. I put it on the shelf in the living room, right where Dad would have wanted it. Anyway, cameras are on, restraining order is active, sister's growing up, niece or nephew is on the way. Life's good. Edit. People asking about Marco? He got his first raise last week. Nothing huge, but he earned it. He high-fived me in the break room. I've never been high-fived by an employee before. Felt weird. Good weird. Edit 2. Tessa update. She says the original recording from that first day is saved in 3 separate locations just in case. She also says if mom ever shows up again, she's not just recording, she's live streaming. That woman is built different and I don't deserve her. She called herself God, snapped her fingers at her own son in his own house, slapped him, threatened to lie to police, ran a smear campaign, smashed his windows with painted rocks, and through all of it, every single move she made, somebody was recording. Tessa with her phone, the security cameras, the dash cam. This woman fought a one-woman war against documentation and lost every single battle. But the part that actually matters? Paige, the sister who showed up giggling and calling her mommy and throwing tantrums on the porch. That same woman is in therapy now, working a real job, building a life with Marco, and talking about their father like she finally understands what she lost. That's the real story. Not the revenge, the rescue. So if you enjoyed today's story, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. All the links are in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. It really does mean a lot. And having said all that, I will see you in the next one. Peace.